I never thought a simple Saturday morning could change my life, but there I was, standing in front of the mirror, my sister's grin spread wide across her face, holding a tutu like it was a sacred artifact. "Come on. You promised me you'd try," she said, bouncing on her heels. Her energy was infectious, almost too much for my bleary, half-asleep brain. I don't think this is a good idea," I mumbled, trying to shrink into myself. My arms crossed reflexively, but she ignored my protest. "It's just one class for fun," she added. Her eyes sparkled with a mischievous determination I knew all too well. Once she had an idea in her head, nothing could stop her. "Fun," I whispered to myself, staring at the pink tutu she held up. It looked impossibly delicate, frilly, and girlish. My stomach knotted. Fun didn't feel like the word I would use to describe being forced into something that could make me look ridiculous in front of strangers. But she didn't give me time to think. Within minutes she had me standing in the center of my room, tugging at leggings, a fitted top, and finally the dreaded tutu. I felt like my body was betraying me. Every second I moved, the frills brushed against my legs, the elastic hugged my waist in a way I wasn't used to, and the mirror. Oh, the mirror. My reflection stared back, pink, soft, feminine, and utterly foreign. "See? Not so bad," my sister clapped, twirling around like she was auditioning for a ballet show. I felt my face flush. I wanted to disappear, wanted the floor to swallow me whole. My hands clutched the sides of the tutu as if it were holding me together. I don't know if I can do this in public," I admitted, my voice a mixture of embarrassment and panic. "Exactly why we start at home," she said, eyes gleaming. "Think of it as practice. Confidence is everything." She was relentless, but there was something about her energy that made me hesitate. Curiosity, maybe, or maybe the tiniest spark of excitement. I had never dressed like this before, not like this in front of anyone. And yet, standing there, swaying awkwardly in my tutu, I couldn't deny the strange thrill that ran through me. When we finally left for the dance studio, my heart was a storm of conflicting emotions. Fear, embarrassment, and an unfamiliar flutter of anticipation. Each step closer to the mirrored studio intensified my anxiety. I imagined everyone staring, judging, laughing. But my sister's hand on my back was firm, reassuring, pushing me forward even when I wanted to bolt. Inside the studio, the scent of polish and the soft thrum of music hit me. Mirrors lined every wall, reflecting dozens of other students, all poised and practiced. And there I was, a bundle of nerves and pink frills, clutching my sister's hand for dear life. The instructor, a tall, graceful woman with a kind smile, welcomed us. "Don't worry," she said. "We all start somewhere." Her words were comforting, but my stomach twisted as I tried to follow the first simple steps. I stumbled over my own feet, the tutu bouncing, drawing a few curious glances. My face burned red. But then something strange happened. As I moved, awkward and hesitant, I caught sight of my reflection in the wall-length mirror. For the first time, I didn't just see a clumsy, nervous mess. I saw a potential. The lines of my body, soft and flowing in ways I had never noticed, began to look graceful. Every stumble was a tiny lesson, every hesitant turn a discovery. By the end of that first session I was sweating, exhausted and mortified, and yet undeniably exhilarated. My sister squeezed my hand. "See? You're a natural," she whispered. And despite myself I smiled. That night back home I couldn't stop thinking about the day. The tutu still smelled faintly of the studio and my muscles ached in new ways. But there was a spark inside me, curiosity, excitement, a tiny seed of confidence I hadn't expected to feel. The idea of exploring this side of myself, this feminine, graceful world, had planted itself, quietly insisting that I take notice. And so it began, a journey I hadn't chosen, yet somehow couldn't ignore, a journey of self-discovery, embarrassment, exhilaration, and ultimately empowerment. The days after that first dance class were surreal. Every step I took, every glance in a mirror reminded me of the new side of myself I had barely begun to explore. At home, my sister was relentless, excitedly planning outfits, suggesting different tights, shoes, and skirts. "Try this one," she'd chirp, holding up a pastel leotard. "It'll make your lines look amazing." I wanted to groan, to retreat back into my old, safe world, but a tiny part of me, the part one hadn't even admitted existed, was curious. Could I really pull this off? Could I look graceful? I caught myself staring at my reflection longer than I should, noticing the way my arms moved, the way the skirt swayed. School was an entirely different battlefield. I hadn't mentioned the dance class to anyone. Walking down the hallway, every glance from classmates felt magnified. I imagined whispers behind my back, laughter, judgment, but the reality was stranger. People didn't seem to notice, or maybe they did but they didn't care enough to comment. The tension, however, was all mine. One afternoon my best friend Alex raised an eyebrow as I walked past. "You seem different," he said casually. I froze, words stuck in my throat. Yeah, I guess." My voice sounded softer than usual. I cringed inside. At home my sister upped the ante. Makeup kits appeared on my desk, delicate brushes and pastel-colored eyeshadows. My heart raced every time I touched them, equal parts fear and fascination. One evening I found myself staring at a tube of blush, fingertips hovering. What if I mess it up? What if it looks ridiculous? My mind was a storm of doubt and curiosity. I tried to resist, to cling to the normal version of myself, but the more I avoided it, the more I thought about it. Every reflection, every teasing suggestion from my sister, pulled me closer to something I didn't fully understand yet. Even small interactions became loaded with tension. I noticed the way my posture shifted when my sister watched me move, the way my hands fidgeted when I thought about wearing tights in public, the way my stomach tightened at the thought of anyone seeing me in dance clothes outside the studio. And yet, a subtle excitement began to sneak in. Every whispered thought of experimenting with makeup, every imagined twirl in a tutu, sent a shiver of anticipation through me. Fear and fascination were tangled together so tightly I couldn't separate them anymore. By the end of the week I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a forced dance class. It was a journey into discovering a part of myself I had never even allowed to exist. And whether I liked it or not, I couldn't stop thinking about it. By the time Saturday rolled around again, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The dance class had sparked something inside me, a mix of fear, embarrassment, and excitement. I found myself standing in front of the mirror late at night, alone in my room, staring at the pile of skirts, leotards, and tights my sister had arranged for me. My hands hovered over the soft fabrics, trembling. I started small, almost timidly. A brush of my fingers across a delicate skirt, feeling the way it swayed and tickled my legs. Then one finger slipped over a tube of lipstick my sister had left on my dresser. I hesitated, heart hammering. Just a little, I told myself. No one will see. Twisting the cap open, I applied it cautiously. The color was soft, rosy, a subtle glow that seemed to awaken something inside me. I blinked, staring at my reflection. The lips that stared back at me weren't the ones I knew. They were softer, alive, inviting. My stomach flipped, a thrill mingling with guilt. What am I doing? Encouraged, I experimented further. I tried on a pastel leotard, pulling it over my head carefully, feeling the snug fabric stretch across my shoulders. The mirror reflected a form I barely recognized. Soft curves, delicate lines, a figure moving hesitantly but gracefully. Every brush of fabric against my skin sent shivers through me. My hands gripped the edges of the leotard, both terrified and exhilarated. I began practicing small movements, arm stretches, tentative twirls, footwork I had learned in class. The sound of soft music in my room made the experience feel alive. Every stumble and awkward sway was a lesson. I whispered to myself, "You can do this, just a little more." My voice felt foreign as well, softer, lighter, and hearing it made my heart race. Makeup became another layer of transformation. I dabbed blush along my cheekbones, practicing gentle blending. I experimented with eyeliner, mascara, and eyeshadow, amazed at how much a little color could change the way I saw myself. Each swipe brought a strange thrill, a tiny rush of power. I was creating a version of myself I had never allowed to exist. I also began testing my expressions. Soft smiles, coy glances in the mirror, tilts of the head. Each attempt made me feel exposed, ridiculous, but alive. I laughed nervously at first, tripping over my own awkwardness, but slowly a rhythm emerged. The more I practiced, the more natural it felt. Some nights I would lie on my bed afterward, staring at my reflection in the window, thinking, is this really me? Or just a mask? Tears came sometimes, out of fear, confusion, or the realization that this exploration was changing me in ways I hadn't anticipated. But beneath the anxiety, a spark of excitement glimmered. By the end of that week I had a ritual. Lock the door, turn on soft music, and slowly transform into this secret version of myself. I wasn't just following my sister's plan anymore. I was claiming it, exploring it, and discovering parts of myself I didn't even know existed. Every experiment, every hesitant movement, every stolen glance in the mirror became a tiny act of courage, slowly building a confidence I hadn't thought possible. And with each passing night, I began to understand a truth I couldn't ignore. This secret world, this exploration was mine. It wasn't just about dance class, tutus, or makeup. It was about discovering a side of myself I had never dared to see, and learning piece by piece that I could embrace it. The private experiments were thrilling, but soon they weren't enough. I craved the next step, taking this side of myself into the outside world. The first time I dared to wear a skirt and leotard, or even just leggings and a soft top, beyond my room, my heart felt like it would explode. Every step toward the front door was a battle between excitement and panic. My sister, of course, was my fearless companion. She held my hand, whispered encouragement, and cheered every hesitant step I took. "You've got this," she said, her grin practically glowing. "Just walk like you belong out there." We started small, a walk to the corner store, brief stops at the park. My legs shook, my chest tightened, and I could feel the world's eyes, even if nobody was actually staring. But every compliment, every smile from a stranger felt like fuel. The reflection in store windows, once a source of terror, now offered a glimpse of confidence, however shaky. I began experimenting with social interactions. At a small cafe, I nervously ordered coffee, my voice softer, lighter. "Lovely outfit," the barista said, smiling warmly. My face burned, but the compliment stirred something thrilling inside me, a sense that I could exist like this and maybe even be appreciated. Still, the journey wasn't linear. Some days, walking down a busy street made my stomach twist into knots. I would retreat behind oversized jackets, hide my hands in pockets, shuffle quickly, praying no one noticed. But each fearful outing was a lesson. I learned to adapt, to steady my nerves, to take tiny risks. Each small victory, like a stranger complimenting my outfit or holding a door, became a milestone. Weekend dance classes became a playground for growth. I twirled, stumbled, laughed, and learned to move my body in ways I never imagined. Each step, each awkward pirouette was an act of courage. The mirrors that had once intimidated me now reflected possibilities. I could see the beginning of grace emerging in my movements, and for the first time I felt proud. The confidence began spilling into other areas. My voice grew steadier, gestures softer but intentional. I experimented with hairstyles, makeup, and outfits more boldly. Each choice was a statement, a tiny declaration. I exist like this and I can be myself. My sister continued to guide me, offering tips on posture, expressions, and fluidity. "See how a slight tilt of the head changes everything?" she'd whisper, and I would try it, marveling at the transformation. But even as I credited her, I knew this wasn't her journey. It was mine. Every movement, every experiment, every tiny risk belonged to me now. By the end of those first few weeks, something incredible had happened. I was no longer just a nervous, awkward student in tutus and leggings. I was becoming someone I had never met before. Confident, curious, and brave enough to explore this side of myself in the real world. Every day brought new discoveries, small victories and occasional stumbles, but one thing was clear. I was growing, evolving, and learning that the fear of judgment was nothing compared to the exhilaration of embracing who I truly could be. The real test came sooner than I expected. My sister had signed me up for the studio's recital, a public performance. My heart dropped the moment I saw the poster. My name printed alongside dozens of other students, all poised and confident. Panic surged. Everyone is going to see me, like this, in front of an audience. Backstage, the reality hit harder than I imagined. The bright lights, the rustle of tutus, the anxious chatter of other dancers. It was overwhelming. I clutched my skirt, trembling, my stomach tied in knots. I imagined every possible humiliation. Tripping, looking ridiculous, everyone laughing. "You're ready," my sister whispered, squeezing my hand. Her eyes glimmered with excitement and reassurance. "You've got this. Trust yourself." I wanted to retreat, to hide in the corner and disappear. But as the music started, a strange determination surged. I had practiced countless times in my room, stumbled, laughed, and learned. I knew the steps, I knew the routine, and more importantly, I had begun to trust myself. The curtain rose. I stepped forward, every heartbeat echoing in my chest. The mirrors along the walls reflected not just me, but the audience beyond, dozens of eyes watching. My legs shook, my arms felt heavy, but I took a deep breath, remembering every private rehearsal, every cautious twirl in my bedroom, every tiny victory outside the studio. Then it clicked. I moved. Slowly at first, then with more confidence. Each step, each pirouette, each sway of my tutu felt like a small triumph. The fear was still there, but it became background noise beneath a growing exhilaration. I wasn't performing for them, I was performing for me. For the version of myself I had discovered, nurtured, and claimed. Halfway through, a misstep almost made me stumble and my chest tightened with panic. But I caught myself, spun with deliberate care, and finished the move. The applause at the end wasn't overwhelming, it wasn't even the point. What mattered was that I had faced my fear, embraced my transformation, and emerged alive and proud. Backstage, my sister hugged me tightly. "See? You were amazing," she said, eyes shining. My reflection in the dressing room mirror no longer startled me. It smiled back, confident and alive. I realized then that the journey wasn't about avoiding fear. It was about moving forward in spite of it. That night I went to bed exhausted, exhilarated, and transformed, not just in appearance but in spirit. I had crossed the threshold from uncertainty and embarrassment into empowerment, and nothing could take that feeling away. The days after the recital felt different. I woke up with a sense of lightness I hadn't known before. My reflection in the mirror no longer startled me. Instead, it seemed familiar, even comforting. The fear and embarrassment that had once defined my relationship with this side of myself had begun to fade, replaced by something much more powerful: pride. My sister noticed it too. She smiled knowingly when I experimented with a new outfit, giving gentle tips rather than insisting I follow her direction. "You're finding your own style," she said. "And it suits you." That small acknowledgement felt huge. It was validation, not control. I started venturing out more confidently, even outside the dance world. Short walks to the park, coffee runs, casual meetups with friends. I began to integrate this side of me into everyday life. Every compliment felt genuine, every curious glance became a moment to stand taller rather than shrink. The initial thrill of experimentation had grown into steady, empowering confidence. Dance itself became more than a challenge. It became a sanctuary. Each movement, from pirouettes to plies, reminded me of how far I had come. The mirrors, once intimidating, now reflected my strength and grace. I had learned to embrace both the delicate and powerful aspects of this identity. The softness of the skirts, the lightness of my gestures, the intensity of my focus. More importantly, I realized that transformation wasn't just about appearances. It was about courage. The courage to face judgment, to try new things, and to honor curiosity without shame. It was about making choices that affirmed my own identity, not just performing for others. I had gone from hiding behind my room's door to standing in front of a room full of people, and eventually the world, with confidence and pride. Even my relationships shifted. Friends became more supportive, my family more understanding. Sharing small victories, tiny moments of discovery, and experiences I once feared made me realize that openness brings connection, not ridicule. By embracing this side of myself fully, I discovered a freedom I hadn't known existed. I wasn't just dancing or wearing outfits, I was claiming my authenticity. Every movement, every choice, every moment of courage became part of a growing tapestry of empowerment. Looking in the mirror now, I saw not only the reflection of the person I had become, but the proof of the journey I had taken. One that began with fear, curiosity, and hesitation, and ended with pride, self-discovery, and a profound sense of self-acceptance. Looking back, I realized this journey wasn't just about tutus, dance steps, or outfits. It was about discovering courage, curiosity, and authenticity. Being forced into the dance class by my sister felt terrifying at first, but it opened a door I never would have dared to approach on my own. I learned that fear is temporary, but embracing your true self is lasting. Every stumble, every whispered doubt, every hesitant step in front of a mirror or an audience taught me resilience and self-love. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, don't shy away from curiosity, don't hide from challenges, and never apologize for exploring who you are. Sometimes, The moments that scare us most lead to the most beautiful discoveries.